You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome to the Inclusive AF podcast. I'm Katee Van Horn.
And I'm Jackye Clayton. Welcome. How are you doing?
And we are recording, just in case anyone was wondering. Sometimes we get lost when we're trying to record and forget that we're recording.
True.
But we are so ready now.
Yes.
All right, Jackye.
Yes.
Do you like? What was your favorite book as a child?
Mad Max, about a little boy who had a very bad day. It was like Mad Max and the terrible no good day.
Yeah. I remember this one. Mine was The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
I love that book.
Mm-hmm. I actually, for a very long time. So when one of my nieces, who's now 18, when my sister was pregnant with her, we went to like Babies R Us or Toys R Us or wherever you go when you're going to have a baby.
Someplace that's bankrupt that we can't go to.
Yeah, I was like, someplace you can't go to anymore because it's not there.
Right.
And they had all of the Eric Carlisle clothing and little things. So I had a Very Hungry Caterpillar like toy. Very cute.
Love that.
So not Dr. Seuss then. So you've canceled him. You've always canceled him, Jackye. Is that what I'm hearing from you? You are a
3-year-old Jackye canceled Dr. Seuss.
From birth, you canceled Dr. Seuss. How dare you? How dare you, woman?
Listen.
Ugh.
I am so glad. In case you all are wondering, we are going to be talking today about cancel culture because Dr. Seuss was air quote canceled, unair quote.
Okay, so let's dig in. So there is this whole situation that's happening, as most of you know, that the Fox News and some of those people that are into
and
Fox
their
News
fans.
And their fans,
yeah,
have said that Dr. Seuss was canceled. And that, it's cancel culture, and cancel culture is being used. I think they said that like Tucker Carlson used cancel culture like 32 times in like a 4-minute segment on Dr. Seuss. I'm misquoting. It wasn't really 32. I don't remember what the number is, but it was an exorbitant amount of cancel culture commentary. And what we want to just clarify is that cancel culture is not actually what happened to Dr. Seuss.
Right. Or Potato Head.
None of this is cancel culture.
Aunt Jemima.
None of it.
No.
And so we want to just clarify what is and is not cancel culture. So
That's right.
Jackye, I think you looked up the definition of cancel culture. Did you look up the definition of cancel culture?
I feel like you did. Looking them up.
But we kept looking them up, and it's different depending on where you look, correct?
That's right.
I don't know that it's actually like there's an official definition, but if we just tear apart those two words and kind of look at what they both mean, we can probably come up with a good idea. Canceling means you're getting rid of or stopping. And culture means something that is of a culture, about a culture. Is that a rough estimate definition that you'll go with? Or
I like this one. I like this one. Sorry, there's a thingy there. I like this one from Wikipedia. It says, cancel culture or call out culture is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online, on social media, or in person. Those who are subject to this ostracism are said to have been canceled.
Okay. Great definition, Wikipedia. Please give to Wikipedia if you can, because I know they always are looking for money.
That's right. Give them a donation.
Give them a donation if you can, because they just defined cancel culture for us.
Well, and they say it constitutes a form of boycotting involving an individual, usually a celebrity, who is deemed to have acted or spoken in a questionable or controversial manner.
So here are some people that I think we should cancel immediately. Are you ready for my list?
Let's listen to the cancel list. Let's see.
Okay. The people that need to be canceled immediately start with Woody Allen.
Yep.
Mel Gibson.
Fully.
And his anti-Semitic butt.
Correct.
I think, Tucker Carlson, I've already mentioned him. I don't know if we could go ahead and cancel him. I do like that Piers Morgan went ahead and walked off the set, so we don't have to do anything with him. We can just leave him be and let him stew. But I think
Megan Fox.
Why are we canceling Megan Fox? I didn't even. What are we canceling her for? I don't even know. I'm totally
we're
lost.
just adding her to the list.
Oh. Okay. What about okay, I should stop making a list because that's just
We could go all day.
I'm going off topic now. So the Dr. Seuss thing, let's start there and then we can go to Mr. Potato Head. Dr. Seuss wrote some problematic books. The keepers of his estate / publishing arm of the Dr. Seuss estate have decided not to publish any more of those books. Those books will still be in rotation at libraries. They are still at schools. No one is pulling them from shelves or doing like a book burning like they've done in the past with other books. Truly, this is just hey, we're just not going to make any more of these problematic books anymore. And we're not going to put them on the president's Read for America list anymore because they're problematic.
That's the whole point. Like, that's the thing. Nobody called them out. Nobody asked for a boycott. Nobody said fire the CEO of the estate. Nobody did any of that. And it's just a simple case of, what's funny is we ask people, especially within the last year, like, do your own research, find out what's going on and see if these things are problematic. And there's several people that are like, oh, snap, I didn't realize that we were doing this. This isn't right. So let's just not do that anymore. You can't cancel yourself. Okay. Like when you know better, you do better. And they looked at it and they found it was problematic and they don't want to perpetuate the systemic racism and prejudices that's reinforced by the books that they already have. That seems rational and logical to me.
Amen. And I think we saw the other end of this with we're going to cancel Coca-Cola because they had a problematic training that really wasn't their, it was in their
even their training,
but it wasn't their requirement. So you're saying cancel culture on them as well from the right side, from the people on the right. And also like, that's not what we're doing. It's, hey, we realize this is a problematic training and therefore we're going to not have it in our repertoire any longer. The end. And so I think there's just like whole misunderstanding of like what actually cancel culture is. To do a boycott like the right did. I don't know if you remember that the right actually canceled or tried to cancel by boycotting Nike a few years ago when they supported Kaepernick. Thank you. I was like, why am I forgetting his name off the top of my head? And so there's also this, it's interesting that the right is using this language so much around cancel culture when A, it's not an accurate reflection of what it means, and B, they do it all the time.
All the time. That's how they do and how they perpetuate, because they're right now it's been a lot of trying to make people hate being the underlying emotion, not to do things because it's more ethical or more logical or makes more sense to support us as humans. It just comes from a piece of hate. And so that's what seems to be happening more than ever. My favorite is when they're like saying that we've been silenced on every TV show possible.
Oh, that's that Marjorie Taylor Greene, or is that her name? That was like, oh, I've been silenced, as she's like on
the news, literally.
On the news talking like, about how she's been silenced.
I can actually
hear you. Hear it. Did someone mute you? And I
can
my transmission
literally
is
hear
coming
you.
Through. Oh,
but the thing is that there are some people. So let's talk about some people who really have been canceled. Like if you're into YouTube, like Jeffree Star has been legitimately canceled. There's been a lot of YouTubers that have been legitimately canceled. The people who end up getting canceled, for the most part, it says somebody famous, but a lot of these people have been independent contributors, even if there have been celebrities, and most of it's for doing something actually wrong. What was the guy's name? Harvey Weinstein, canceled. Because nobody else was going to do it. And the reason that people have been getting canceled is for doing something problematic and there being no repercussions. Now, there are some times where people have made mistakes where they want to call somebody out for a statement or a quote. And there have been people who aren't famous for being canceled. Case in point, that woman who said, I'm going to Africa. She tweeted out, I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white. Got on a flight, landed, and didn't even know her whole life turned sideways. Right,
To
wrong,
be
or
clear though,
indifferent.
okay, but let's talk about that example. So
Yeah.
she was fired from the organization. She was like some broadcasting network.
Right.
I forget
Right.
where she worked. She was rehired by them.
Mhm.
She is working for them today. And yes, she had some people go, yeah, you're a horrible human on Twitter. But at the end of the day, like her life didn't really change in any way. She wasn't truly impacted in any way. And so it's the misuse of this language that is
That's
like,
right. You are not canceled.
you were not canceled. You had a rough patch because you did something stupid.
You were held accountable.
Yes, you were held accountable to something stupid that you did.
Right.
And I think so. Mr. Potato Head is another one where it is.
Excuse me, let me correct you. It's just
Potato Head.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Which again, I do not understand why everyone is so up in arms by the changing of the name of a toy. It's kind
Because
of like, go.
It's not a gender anyway.
No.
It's a potato.
It's a potato. Amen. And like, but I think this is also, it goes to some of the things that, I mean, we could go super deep down this hole. I have been talking in trainings for quite some time about like the socialization of children around sexuality, around gender identity. And it's just this, if you look at cartoons and like think about the Disney princesses
Mhm.
that are scantily clad, hourglass figure, God bless them. I mean, they're proportionally correct in any human existence, but you know, some of them aren't humans, some of them are mermaids and things
That's right.
of such. Yeah. But it's the way that from cartoons, children are socialized to believe that girls should be cute and be saved and be, you know, thank goodness that the knight is going to come save you from the castle where the dragon is keeping you, because you wouldn't be able, you're just too silly and too dumb to be able to figure it out on your own. It just is fascinating to me the way that we have seen the just the gender norms that have been put on, you know, even these cartoons.
Well,
It's
even
just,
a sexual
weird.
norm. It's not even because Pepe
Absolutely.
Le Pew was canceled
Ugh.
this week. Pepe Le Pew. I call my
stalker.
husband Pepe Le Pew.
The stalker. Well, let's not call him that anymore because
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew, because he because of the rape culture again, and did not listen to the cat when the cat said no. And they said, ooh, we're probably not setting up good examples that this is how you get. She's playing hard to get. No. She said
she's
no.
not interested. Yeah.
No means no.
Yeah. It's the consent issue.
Even if it's a skunk.
Even if you're a skunk trying to get after it with a cat. No. She said no. The answer is no. But I know we're kind of making light of some of this, but it is this
it's not
it's not light, because it's very bizarre that people are so up in arms about the fact that they're weaponizing the language of cancel culture, when in fact it's not a canceling of anything. It's a holding people to account, holding people responsible and accountable to their actions and their words. And I know we talked in the last episode about, you know, you said it was an announcer that was using the N-word while his mic was hot and he didn't realize his mic was hot. And it's like, sir, you need to be responsible for your actions, and you need to say whatever you need to say. This is language that I shouldn't ever use again. And I now know better, so I'm going to do better. And I think people just are, I mean, I think we can use JT as another example, which we talked about in our celebrity edition,
Yes.
Justin Timberlake. And I do feel like he's gotten away with so many things, but I also feel like he has had a reckoning, or I feel like he has. Now, obviously we don't know his heart in any way, shape, or form, but he has definitely come to some sort of awareness that the actions that he has taken, the things that he has said and done, aren't okay. Now, it might not just be a PR game, and he might be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. But he is saying the right things. Now we'll see how it goes, and we'll see how he does. but there is definitely just this, it's just interesting. So I think there's another one that has always bothered me so much is that Taylor Swift was like, oh, America's sweetheart, and she's so adorable and sweet and kind and all these things. And you had Miley Cyrus, who was like, oh, she's horrible, she's, you know, a hooer and all of these other things. And then if you like looked at them from like a, what are they actually doing in real life? Miley Cyrus was like dating the same guy for years. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift is jumping or implying that she's jumping from bed to bed based on her stories or songs that she's writing based on her real life. And so you were like, I don't understand why Miley Cyrus is being vilified, while Taylor Swift, it's like, oh, that's so cute that she writes stories about the dude she sleeps with, which I get, but I also am like, I also don't care, because get after it, girl. Like, hey, if you want to, have at it. But again, it's either you're an angel or a demon when it comes to these performers, that you're either a big slut because you dress provocatively, or you are, you know, America's sweetheart because you wear cowboy boots and a longer skirt when you go on stage. Nothing
I just feel like
cowboy
people
boots, because we both like them.
We both like them. I just feel like, you know, I think we should try to do, maybe this is, and I say we, but I think I'm going to say, I am going to try to applaud people who make changes, who've done their research and realize that things are problematic. And I don't think people do that enough, because we should actually be applauding people for understanding, because we're trying to stop the pattern. We're trying to break the system. We're trying to be more inclusive, and we're trying to be inclusive AF. So we need to look at these organizations and say, I am so glad that you took gender out of the potato head, and it's just a potato head, and you can play with it whatever you want to and make it whatever you want to. It still has all the parts. You can just stick it, you know, and do the things. And so we should applaud organizations that say, oh my God, we're so sorry. I think case in point, and nobody talked about this when it happened, but National Geographic there was always problems, and people were complaining about how they portrayed Black people and African people in different scenarios. And the editor was like, okay, we just went through all of our National Geographics and we're so embarrassed, we blew it. And she said exactly what they did and how it was problematic, and that they made the commitment to change it. And so again, canceled. That would be the equivalent of canceling, based on what the right just keeps saying, of what their definition of cancel culture. They recognize that they did something wrong. They pulled those issues. They took out those pictures. They added disclaimers. You know, they started being more thoughtful. And so it's just like what we're saying. When you know better, you do better. But if you want to make real change, it's letting people know and acknowledging and accepting that you made a mistake. And so if somebody admits their mistake, I don't understand why other people are then trying to jump on and blame something else. And there was real news going on that week outside of those books and Potato Head, and I forgot what else got canceled, air quotes again, last week. There's like real news going on. Like, we still have people dying from COVID. We still have people who don't have jobs. We still have people that, you know, have all of these different issues that are so important to deal with. And they're talking about a stupid book and getting people all riled up again. Like, can we just be calm? Can we just not be angry for a minute?
Well, and I think it's also like, let's talk about what's really going on. The media's constant need to distract and don't look over there, look over here. I mean, like, I think the other example that has been happening now for, I mean, since COVID came to the US was, you know, the assaults on Asia and Pacific Islanders, Asians and Pacific Islanders. And that like has been totally glossed over. And we are seeing more and more and more of these incidences where you're like, how is this not a bigger story? How is this not something that's being talked about by the media all the time? And we have, I mean, Michelle Kim, if you don't follow her on Twitter, do so. She has been doing an amazing job of highlighting stories and sharing stories about folks that have been impacted. And so I think there's just some pieces here that we're being distracted by the media, by stupid things. And I think it's very telling that what Fox News is talking about is, and I'm using Fox News, I'm going to say the right. I don't know who we should really be.
I don't know who we should.
I think it's kind of all of the people.
Well, we are inclusive as
AF.
So all of them.
All of them. But here's the thing. But I think it happens on both sides of the fence is actually what I was trying to say. It's like, it's the right is distracting from things that are going on that they don't want to like congratulate Biden for. And it's the left
That's right.
talking about things because they don't want to admit that they haven't done what they need to do in regards to certain things. So
did you see Biden condemning the hate crimes? Like Trump never did that.
No, he was.
And for him to go in and say it's vicious and it's un-American and you're scapegoating, and he's like, stop it. I mean, he really does kind of remind me of a grandpa. No offense. That has no reflection on his age, but the way he's like, this is wrong. We have to do something about it, which is language we didn't have. And they're talking about a potato. Like, seriously, like this is major news. We've never seen somebody being so explicit in condemning hate, like that, specifically saying this is the group that you're targeting, because it's always just been soft and, oh, you know, we have to be better and we need to come together and saying things like that. But he was like, no, there's racist violence against, he said it against Blacks, African Americans. Now he's saying Asian Americans, and he's calling it out and asking people to stop, which is always great, because now we know, like, we're at the step, we're not denying it, so people will hopefully be held accountable, unlike saying there's good people on both sides and then nobody's being held accountable and the majority group gets the benefit.
Right. Agreed. And I think that's also part of the whole cancel culture thing. I think is also just a reflection of the times of it's exactly what you're saying. The scapegoating, there's people that are great on both sides. No, like holding people accountable to bad actions. But I also would say, like, how many things, and I'm going to just talk about myself, I'm not going to speak for anyone else. I would say in the last 10 years, probably longer than that, because I'm a little older than some. The things that I thought were acceptable in my 20s and the things that I did or said or language that I used or interactions that I had with people that I reflect on now and go, yeah, that wasn't okay.
Right.
And I should never do that again. And you know, we talked in the last episode a little bit about music, and, you know, the one that is still in my brain, and it's because, like, all of my girlfriends, and so this is a bunch of white women in high school, in our plaid skirts from our Catholic school, we knew like every single word to every NWA song, every, you know, Snoop Dogg song. And I love Snoop, you guys know this, but like, if you look at the language, if you hear the words, you're like, oof, yeah, that was not okay. Not okay at all. Not even a little bit. And so I think there's also, I mean, even R. Kelly is another great example. Like, oh, his music is so great. Age ain't nothing but a number. Yeah, because I like to date older guys.
Same. And ew. So cringy.
And ew. Gross. Yes. And so, like, there is that piece that, you know, with age comes wisdom, but also, like, I think, and I won't even use that example because I think so many young people are already seeing it and going, yeah, this isn't okay, which is amazing and awesome. But there is that piece where you go, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. When you know better, you do better, because as you grow and as you learn. And I think part of this is also, at what point do you go, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to learn anything else. I'm all set.
That's usually somewhere between 18 and 25. And then you snap out of it.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, how many people do you know that are like, no, this is silly. I'm just going to listen to whatever the media says and just go along with it. And again, I want to be really clear that it's both sides, because, you know, we've been using Fox News, but go look at CNN, go look at MSNBC, all of them. You are like, no, but really just tell me what really happened. I don't need you to like spin it or tell me your version of events.
That's right.
Or whatever.
We don't need all the commentary. Just give me the facts. And I think part of the reason that we're seeing such a push to cancel culture is because people don't want to be canceled.
Right.
You know,
but you shouldn't be canceled just because you made a mistake.
Right. Just own it. Those are
Right.
the people that have the most success by saying, usually the people who have the most is the example of Dr. Seuss, where they're like, oh, y'all did that? Like, I didn't even know y'all did that.
Right.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Thank
and
you
owning
for
it
right
and fixing
and not doing it anymore. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm gonna go back to R. Kelly, not admitting it, not saying he did anything wrong. Yes, sir, you should be canceled. It is time to never pay one more dollar for a record of yours, for any concert of yours, for all of the things. And that is who we should cancel. Someone that goes, no, I'm not going to change.
Right.
No, I'm not doing anything wrong. But I also think that's part of why I actually appreciate cancel culture, is because you do have these folks that are like doubling down on the, I don't know what the right word is, the stupidity, the poor choices, the whatever. They're going, oh, no, this is okay. Everything's fine. And you're like, no, it's no.
Yeah, I looked at it again. I tried. No, not sure what lens you're looking through, but
yeah. And so I think that's also part of it, is the, again, holding people accountable.
Well, people don't want to be held accountable. That's the thing. Like, okay, people, get over it. Like, that was it. Like, it's like, oh, I'm not a racist, or I'm not prejudiced, or I didn't. Okay, boo. Let's just look at it. That is a problem.
Right.
This is the behavior. The sooner you can own that, because it's nothing has been more clear when they say the first step is recognizing that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you talk about the stuff we talk to people about every day about diversity and inclusion, is starting to talk with people who don't have a problem, right? P.S. None of our clients would ever call us in because they don't have a problem, right? Because they admitted it by bringing us in. So then they're good, right? They're at least taking the first step. But it's so, people are so into fighting for what's theirs. They just want to fight for what they think is theirs, that they can't get better. You can't ever heal until you realize. And yeah, we are all ashamed. We all have shame, but you don't own. You have to look at it and get past it. And I think we're getting closer of trying to have that understanding and communication. And it's like, I feel like there should be like a cancel court where we go in and say, okay, let's just have a real quick 20-minute conversation. Can you explain this? No? Okay, cancel. Okay. And we just release the hounds and just go crazy.
Right. But I also, I'll tell you, I just recently did a workshop with a team around language and words that have a racial history, or words that are problematic. I think, we've talked about language, crazy is the one I think uses the example quite a bit. But if you start to dig in on language, there's quite a few that you just don't even realize are an issue. So tipping point is one that I did not know the genesis, where that word came from, and it's from redlining. And when the tipping point was that the neighborhood had gone too black, and therefore the tipping point had occurred, and don't buy there anymore. And so I'm going through the workshop, and they were pushing back on some of the language and some of the words. And it was like, okay, cool. You're an adult. You get to decide what language you use or don't use. I'm just giving you the background of these words, and I truly was okay with that, because I think part of it is, one of the folks said, this will almost seem unnatural if I don't use some of this language. Some of these I don't use, but then there's some language that I do use, and it will seem unnatural if I just stop using this. It'll, my language will be so stunted, or my conversation will be so stunted. And I was like, okay, fair. So it's just start looking at it and decide which words are the most problematic, or decide what words are ones that you just want to be thoughtful about in the future. And there are some that are worse than others. And there are, I think tipping point is one that, again, people don't know the origin of. So they, maybe it is something, and actually Oprah just used it in the Meghan and Harry interview. But I you're an adult, so decide what works or doesn't work for you, but be aware that if you use this language, this is what you're really saying, or this is what you're saying is okay. Now, that being said, I do want to shift to the Harry and Meghan interview, because one of the things that my sister and I were talking about while watching it was, I said, well, they've been very well prepped by their PR and comms team. And my sister was like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, they are very measured in the words that they're choosing.
Because, yes.
And what they are saying and how they're saying. And Harry, I mean, very clearly, I mean, he is very methodical in his speech pattern. And I'm like, he's been trained since birth of you need to say these words and not that word, and don't say this and don't say that. And also they know that this is a very, very watched and very important conversation. And so like, I don't have a problem with that. It's more just, again, the awareness, the logic, the knowing that, and this is why the whole hot mic situation with that newscaster also annoys me, is that would not be language you should ever use when you're on a microphone.
Never.
I'm saying on a microphone, though,
That's
for
right.
Sure. And so you chose to do it in a time when you didn't realize you were hot mic'd, but also, I think you and I have talked about this. If you have a mic within a 10-foot radius of you, consider it hot. Always.
That's right.
Always consider it hot. And I more mean from the don't go to the bathroom with
That's
it.
right. I was going to say, especially in the bathroom.
Yeah, like, so that's the one that I always am like, how dumb and if you've been doing this long enough, you absolutely know better.
Right.
So don't use that as an excuse. Oh, I didn't know my audio was on. Your audio is always on. And also you're a public figure, so you're always being watched. It's like, these pictures that are taken of people, they're like, oh, look super mad. And you're like, you're literally taking 100 shots in a 10-second period. One of them's not going to be good. And that's the one you're going to choose to be like, yeah, they're a big jerk face. No, they're just, their face was just moving. That's all.
My mom always used to tell me from when I was little, not that I talked a lot or anything, but my mom used to say, and this won't be any surprise. My mom used to always say, Jackye, you don't have to say everything you think. I always had a way of getting myself in trouble with my mouth. And I think that is a good piece of advice for everyone. You have to hold back and see if things, what you're doing. And I'm sure that when Oprah said, so did they talk about the color of your son? And he said, I'm not talking about that. That is not what he was thinking. He might have been thinking, okay, remember to say, I don't want to talk about that. But I'm sure that's not what he was thinking. I'm sure there was a lot of trauma and different things that are going on. But, as we go through these things, it's like, we have to take a step back if we're trying to be inclusive. You just have to take a step back. Just take another minute and say, tell me more about why you think that, or tell me more about where that is coming from, to try for a growing opportunity for both people that are in those situations. But I think, I think that it's ridiculous. What's getting me pissed off and riled up and triggered is that most of the response to those kind of situations is based on one tweet, one Facebook post, without fully understanding the situation. And can we just educate ourselves? Like, we have to do more before you make a statement. And you don't have to say everything you think. Take a step back. I don't understand why it's why people give it a hard time, like you're hurting people, and then saying like people are stupid or this or that. If you're hurting a group of people, let's just not do that.
Agreed. And I'm going to caveat what we are talking about, though, as well. I'm going to go against what I just said a little bit. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The caveat to that is, you shouldn't have to measure your language or your speech because of your gender, because of your race, because of whatever other thing has been put on you, that you shouldn't speak this certain way, you shouldn't act this certain way. It's the women should always be smiling. It's Serena Williams, you reacted to the ref in a way that John McNamara has reacted to a ref.
John McNamara is not in this equation.
I beg your pardon.
Sorry,
I don't know
John.
tennis. Yeah, sorry, whoever I just said. But that guy used to like freak out. He still is like he is known for reacting in an angry and very public and very boisterous manner. Serena Williams does it, and she's an angry Black woman.
Yeah.
So the caveat to me is yes, measure what you say, be thoughtful about what you say. If it's hurting someone, stop it.
Right.
And also, let's stop judging people based on their gender, based on their race, if they are reacting in a way that most normal humans would react. You're talking about one of the most important matches of her life. And yes, she should react in a boisterous and emotional way if something's wrong. That's all.
I will tell you, thank you for that. That makes sense. And it's really like I'm speaking more of the language and not the tone. Like there
Yes.
are words that are just, we know that we don't say and we need to take out of our vocabulary. But I will tell you something that's kind of interesting that happened last week, kind of in regard to this about like saying something to hurt somebody's feelings or learning and doing better. Somebody asked a friend of mine who was working in diversity and inclusion if they felt bad because they weren't including white people, and are they creating an environment that is problematic for white people. And I was like, what did you say? And it freaked her out to the point where she didn't feel like she could say anything. And she just got angry, but didn't say anything and started crying and got very emotional. Didn't want to come off as angry Black woman. Wasn't sure, it was like in a sales type of situation. Wasn't sure if the person was right and started feeling about, a certain kind of way. And so I had a conversation. They wanted to bring me on the conversation just to have a call because she was concerned about it. So I talked to her and some of her coworkers, and one of her coworkers was like, well, maybe they didn't mean it like that. Like maybe they didn't. And I said, stop. I said, no one goes to a vegan and says, well, what about the farmers? What about the cows? What about all that milk that the dairy farmer, don't you feel bad about? Nobody does that to a vegan, right? No one says anything to someone who wears Nike and says, well, what about the people at Adidas? Don't you feel bad about the people? That was on purpose. That was targeted. And it was a Black woman specifically. And I was like, that was on purpose. And so we had to have a full conversation. And then the woman said, I've never felt supported at work before. Thank you for sticking up for me and saying something, because I've never been supported. And so for everybody listening, we always say, when you see something, say something. But understand, like, if you see somebody and they're saying that something is people feel like they're getting canceled, or they're feeling like their actual feelings are getting canceled. They're feeling like they're getting wiped out. Just be there for people and try to be nice, and don't let people hurt people in the name of, I don't know, Americanism, because that's most recent example of what we are continuing to see kind of cast over in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that one is bothersome on so many levels, because I think it's the response back to that person is, if I was just speaking to white men, would you even notice?
That's right.
If I was only speaking to white men, would this even be a conversation? And meaning, would that person defend people of color the same way that they're trying to defend poor white men? And I say poor white men, like poor white men, because like I told you this story before, where I have done presentations where the only visuals I've used have been people of color. And I've had people come up to me after the fact, like, well, that's a little over the top. Like, why are you doing that? And my response is, if it was all white people in this presentation, would you even notice?
Right.
And those are the things that it's about representation. It's about the visuals.
Yes.
It's about all these things. And also, and this isn't a reparations conversation. This is why the heck can't I have all people of color on here? And, for the amount of times that they have been underserved, underrepresented, underseen, why can't I do this?
Like,
And
there
why
the
is that
thing.
wrong?
I was like, so tell me about that. Are you if I was
Say
on the
more words.
conversation,
Say more
because
words.
someone said, I was like, feel free to call me into the conversation. She goes, well, I don't want to put you in that situation. I was like, oh, no. That is my training. I am that is like, you saw Rocky. He was just waiting for the big fight. I love those conversations. I thrive on those conversations. Usually in those situations, that's what I would say is, tell me more. Tell me more words about that. Do you feel like white people are being marginalized? Explain to me how that is happening. Is that something that's occurring in your office right now? How is that happening? Is there some unbalance that we should talk about? Should we bring your boss into the call and talk to them about his treatment of white people in your organization?
And there would be
Usually
no
after the
answer.
second sentence, it's
Right.
silent.
I was going to say, and they would have no answer. And that's like part of it too. And I mean, I know we haven't, well, maybe we did talk about this a bit about, I'm going to be specific about something, and it's not to call anyone out. It's more just to have a conversation, because it's a conversation that's kind of going on in HR. What were they called? The road warriors. What was the thing? I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
The highwaymen. The
Yeah.
highwaymen. So we have in HR some very knowledgeable men, and we love them dearly.
Tenured, been doing this for a very long time.
Amen.
Very smart, good speakers.
Yes, all of those things. And we had a gentleman create a conference or a conversation. I think it was his podcast. I believe, that he was going to have these folks on as the highwaymen. And a highwayman is a reference to like a movie, right? Or something. I don't even know. What is the highwayman? It was like
I think it was a movie.
Yeah. Or no. Oh, no.
Band?
It's no. I know what it is. I remember. It's like Chris, it's like a bunch of country music legends, like Willie Nelson is one of the highwaymen. And I can't remember Christopher. I know what you're talking about. But anyways, they were the highwaymen. And so cool. That's great. The visual was 4 white dudes on a poster. And there was quite a lot of feedback of like, seriously, like, where is the diversity here? This is not okay. And again, knowing that we all love these 4 people that were highlighted on this poster, but it was like, okay, where is the diversity here? And the response was, here are 10 white women that you can talk to. Yeah. And there were quite a few of us that do diversity. So I am a white woman, and I was like, ugh. How about some people of color? How about some other things around diversity? The dimensions don't always have to be gender. The dimensions don't have to be race and ethnicity. There are other dimensions of diversity that we can actually talk about. I don't know if y'all are aware. And there has been, quite a few conversations around this topic since then, but it is the person you said that you spoke to and was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. I'm on his podcast. I was the angel picked from the heavens to be his first diverse guest. What he said, one of the things that he said that I understood, that made sense in his little world, was that he said, I just thought it was funny. Like, I know they've traveled together and they've worked together and done all these things together. So I just thought it was funny. I didn't understand why it was problematic. And then he said, after that, I started looking into it, and they're right that there wasn't a lot of people. And he said, if you would have asked, I thought we were diverse. And he talks about his own organization is like a majority female. And he talked to his organization, and they said, we would like to have a more diverse organization. And he was like shocked. And he called it. What was great about talking to him is he's completely transparent. And it sounded just like, and he's Irish, and it sounded like typical things that you hear, but he was like, in fairness, I don't think about things like that. There's not a lot of Black people here, is what he said. There's not a lot of people of color here. I didn't think about it. And I didn't think about it being a problem because I thought everybody knew these people, and it was a podcast and they weren't all together. Like, I could understand why he rationalized it. And then he did get it. Like, I could have thought that out more. He didn't realize that even internally that his company didn't think that they were as diverse as he was. He had some kind of filter from his lens and thought he was all doing good work. Um, and you're right. That's like, yeah, we can just mix it all up, like, and you're right. The thing that was that's annoying to me is, again, like, people are trying to cancel someone out. People were trying to cancel this dude. And then when when then they were trying to promote their own narrative that still wasn't diverse. Like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, like, okay, so who are we going to cancel? Because right now there's like 5 people on this thread that need to be canceled.
Right.
Like, and I was just tired. I was tired, and I looked at it, and I think it was either you or Robin that was like, name on there, which was funny because I was like, oh God.
Well, no, and actually, Robin's name was one of the names that was lifted up as, hey, here's someone else to talk to. And let me be clear, like, great that you're thinking about gender.
Great.
But also, like, I think it's also do we actually have to hear from the exact same voices at every single conference, every single time, saying the exact same things? I mean, there are a few of those names that, again, I love dearly, but I'm like, I don't need to hear from you again. I'm good.
Well, and here's the other part that is really like, it's like typical American BS to be like, what about all of these people? Dude lives in Ireland. Like, how about some people in Europe?
Yeah, exactly.
There's diversity there too.
Right.
How about a trans person from Spain?
Exactly. And I think that's the piece that's also, you and I have talked about what guests we're try to be really thoughtful about what guests we have on and why are we having them on, and who do we want to talk to? Who do we think, would be an interesting conversation for folks to hear? But I also think you and I both have been very, try to be really thoughtful about who's showing up.
Yes.
Associated with us. And I don't mean that in like we're so cool and we're not inclusive.
No.
We're trying to be extremely inclusive. And that's part of it, is like, as we're reaching out to folks, say, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. It is really a thoughtful and very intentional reach out. And we're trying to be very intentional about who we're talking to. I think it's also, whose voice have we not heard? I think Rowdy Duncan is a great example that, we had Rowdy on a few weeks ago, and he's one that, I think he has, I don't think he's been on a lot of podcasts. He has his own podcast, but I don't think his voice has been heard. And so for me, as I'm doing some work with different clients and meeting new people and learning new voices and learning new things, I'm like, oh, this person would be awesome to talk to.
Yes.
God, I would love for them to share their story on the podcast. And I think that's part of it too, is like, how do we also just think about whose voices have not been lifted up before?
That's right.
Not that we don't love the people that we hear from at every conference.
Everybody they're all have a place, but it's important that we are inclusive of, and people that we're trying to make space and give people a voice that may not have always had a voice. And I'm looking forward to our guest that we'll be having, like, from the fashion industry. Like, not everybody has to be in HR, and talking about different things. And I think it'll be fun to talk about some of the situations that will be helpful to our listeners, especially in HR, to hear some of these stories. I mean, part of getting this right is to be shown these situations so that you can kind of start building your action plan. Like, how should I deal with this? Or how should I think about this? And what can I do in order to make, the world a better place? I'm not trying to be so like Greenpeace or whatever, but I still think that ultimately this is the leadership trait. Like, you hear about what skills do we have to get as we move into the next year, especially with evolving technology. No. The skill that you need is inclusion and making people feel a sense of belonging. That is the school that you need to tighten up on. And the only way you can do that is to put yourself in these various situations. And trust me, like, you can reach out to people through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through Facebook, like actually talk to a person. There is no need to guess. And hopefully we'll have enough guests here that it definitely does not replace talking to a person, but it can help enhance those things. And so for everybody listening too, it's great. Let us know if there is a particular topic or a person that you think we should talk to. But I think it's part of your own work to reach out and make things more familiar so that you can just have a better answer and a better response.
Yes. 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 To all of those things. So, final words on cancel culture.
Don't be stupid. You don't like it that one when I say that.
Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
No, I just think that it's like, use the real words. Just stop using trendy words. There are so many words that are out there. Don't call it cancel culture because somebody else did. And if you see it on the news media, find out the definition and come up with another word on purpose to make sure that you really mean what you say. That's a lot of final thoughts, wasn't it?
That's a lot of final thoughts, but I think they're all right. Mine is do your own research.
Yes.
Because I think we all are becoming these, lemmings that are just going, oh, well, Fox News said it. Oh, well, MSNBC said it. Oh, well, CNN said it. So it must be true. No, go out and do your own research and understand what is actually happening, not just what you think is happening or what someone told you is happening. That is the other part that I think is so frustrating to me is when when people tell you a story and then you go and Google it and just read an article and you're like, oh, so that's not what happened at all. Okay.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
The opposite of that.
Oh, the opposite of that. Okay. Like Dr. Seuss being a great example of oh, we canceled him. Oh, what's going on? And then you go, oh, no. That's publisher decided not to publish anymore of certain books that were problematic. Oh, okay. That's a very different story.
Oh, is that what cancel culture means?
No.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you all for listening. We truly appreciate it. And as Jack, mentioned, if there's ideas, topics, things you want us to talk about, we would love to talk about it. And also, if you want to be a guest, come hang out with us. We're super fun.
We are. We're good people.
And we might have someone on here in the future that we don't want you to miss, not to hint at anything, but there's a couple guests coming up that I think you're all going to enjoy. So more to come. Thank you for listening. This is Katie Van Horn.
And I'm Jackye Clayton. Bye.
Bye.